we need a new game plan for space. Like, we need a moon base, like a permanently crewed moon base. And then along the way, we could do very cool things like have a moon base, like Moon Base Alpha. Like, long ago, there was a TV show about Moon Base Alpha. You couldn't think about the physics of that too much because apparently, like, the moon base was like drifting away from Earth.
In 2028, humans may wake up on the moon and call it home. Elon Musk has openly pushed the idea of permanent off-Earth settlements, and SpaceX is building the hardware to make it real.
All stations verify ready for launch. FTS.
FTS go. Props
go. AVI.
AVI's go.
GNC.
GNC go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What sounds like science fiction is quietly turning into an engineering plan powered by Starship. A lunar base, fueled by ice and sunlight, could become humanity's first true foothold beyond Earth. A permanent foothold beyond Earth. SpaceX is working towards something far bigger than another flag on the moon. The goal is a permanent lunar outpost, often described as a moon base Alpha-style settlement, built to support long-term human presence. This base would rely heavily on Starship, using it as a cargo carrier, an early habitat, and a delivery system for power, life support, and construction hardware. Instead of short visits, the objective is sustained living and working on the lunar surface. The reason behind this ambition runs deep. Elon Musk has repeatedly framed space settlement as a survival strategy for humanity. Earth remains vulnerable to natural and human-made disasters, and spreading life beyond one planet reduces existential risk. The moon plays a critical role in that plan. It sits close enough to Earth for rapid resupply, fast communication, and emergency return, making it the ideal proving ground before attempting Mars. Listen to Elon's update on Starship and his vision to reach Mars.
At least that's what I'm told. And very cool name. And it's named that because it is where we're going to develop the technology necessary to take humanity and civilization and life as we know it to another planet for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth.
SpaceX targets the lunar South Pole, an area rich in water ice trapped inside permanently shadowed craters. That ice can be converted into drinking water, breathable oxygen, and rocket fuel through electrolysis. Nearby elevated regions receive near-continuous sunlight, allowing solar arrays to generate stable power. Starship enables this strategy by landing massive payloads in a single trip, reducing launch frequency and cost while accelerating base construction. The risks remain significant. Landing heavy vehicles on the moon presents dust, stability, and precision challenges. Life support systems must operate reliably in extreme cold and radiation. Transporting enough equipment to sustain human life demands flawless logistics. SpaceX addresses these problems through scale and repetition. Frequent Starship flights, robotic precursor missions, and incremental infrastructure buildup reduce uncertainty through real-world testing. Beyond the core vision, expectations point to high costs early on, measured in billions, with rapid decline as reuse increases. Competition exists from national space agencies, though SpaceX leads in lift capacity. Initial cargo missions could begin around 2028, with gradual expansion afterward. Success would transform the moon into humanity's first true off-world industrial site and a gateway to Mars. From moon ambition to real hardware. A moon base by 2028 sounds extreme until the timeline is broken down into intent and execution. SpaceX does not describe 2028 as the year a finished city appears on the lunar surface. The target represents the beginning of sustained activity. Cargo landings, power systems, life support testing, and long-duration surface operations. This phase focuses on learning how to stay, operate, and expand, rather than visiting briefly and leaving behind footprints. The deeper motivation connects directly to Elon Musk's long-term Mars vision. Musk has repeatedly explained that Mars remains the end goal, yet the Moon offers something Mars does not: proximity. Crews, cargo, and data can move back and forth far faster, allowing rapid problem solving. Every failure becomes a lesson instead of a catastrophe. In that sense, the Moon becomes a training ground where systems for Mars can be stressed, repaired, and redesigned under real conditions. Execution depends on Starship reaching full operational maturity. SpaceX plans to rely on Starship as a high-capacity lunar delivery vehicle capable of transporting tens of tons in a single landing. Let's see how Elon plans to make this a reality.
At some point, probably as many Starships for Mars as Boeing and Airbus make commercial airplanes. So this is really at a scale, enormous scale. And each Starship will have a capability. Each Starship is bigger than a 747 or an A380. Like, it's truly enormous. And then in terms of Starship, Starlink satellites, the version 3 satellites, making on the order of 5,000 a year, maybe at some point closer to 10,000 a year. And those Starlink V3 satellites are each the size of roughly a 737. They're pretty big. That compares to the B-24 bomber in World War II.
That capability reduces mission complexity while enabling early infrastructure such as solar arrays, habitats, rovers, and fuel processing equipment. Water ice extraction near the lunar South Pole feeds directly into this plan, supplying air, water, and propellant while lowering dependence on Earth. The risks remain substantial. Starship must demonstrate reliable orbital refueling, precise lunar landings, and repeatable reuse. Lunar dust threatens engines and equipment. Life support systems must operate continuously in extreme thermal conditions. These challenges explain why SpaceX emphasizes iteration over perfection. Each mission adds data, reducing uncertainty step by step. Today, visible progress supports the timeline. At Starbase, the Gigabay facility signals a shift from prototype construction toward mass production. Multiple Starships can now be assembled simultaneously, increasing flight cadence. In Florida, parallel Starship infrastructure prepares for launches from Pad 39A, expanding launch capacity beyond Texas. NASA's Artemis program further anchors this momentum. With Artemis 2 hardware rolling toward launch readiness, the pathway toward crewed lunar operations becomes tangible. Have a look.
Tonight, NASA literally crawling closer to launch, rolling this 11 million pound moon rocket to the launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center slower than 1 mile an hour. The hours-long rollout is a milestone for the Artemis 2 mission, set to send astronauts deeper into space than ever before. If all goes to plan, the 4-person crew of Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen will slingshot around the moon as soon as next month.
Starship's selection as the human landing system ties SpaceX's ambitions directly into national spaceflight plans. If these milestones align, the Moon transforms from destination to foundation, and Mars moves one step closer. The countdown toward the first landing. Everything now funnels toward a narrow window where ambition meets physics. The next few years decide whether the Moon becomes a place humans return to briefly or a place they begin to build. On paper, the roadmap looks clear. Uncrewed Starship landings, orbital refueling demonstrations, surface operations, then crewed missions under the Artemis banner. Each milestone unlocks the next, yet every step carries technical pressure that has never existed at this scale. This is where timelines tighten. A lunar base depends on Starship performing complex choreography in space, tankers meeting tankers, fuel transferring cleanly in orbit, vehicles descending to the moon with extreme precision. These systems have no historical blueprint. They must work repeatedly, safely, and under scrutiny. Any delay in one element ripples across the entire schedule. At the same time, expectations continue to rise. NASA's roadmap relies on Starship delivering astronauts safely to the lunar surface. SpaceX's roadmap relies on Starship doing far more, delivering power systems, habitats, fuel plants, and the foundations of a permanent presence. These visions intersect on the moon, yet they serve different purposes. One prioritizes near-term crewed missions. The other treats the moon as preparation for something larger, a future civilization on Mars. How these priorities synchronize will influence both lunar operations and the path toward interplanetary settlement. Elon explains his plan recently at Starbase in Texas.
Double or triple that volume in the future. So it just puts things into perspective that it is actually possible to build a vast number of interplanetary starships. And even when you can compare things on the tonnage standpoint, Tesla is still, and other car companies are still building far more complex manufactured tonnage than SpaceX, which just really is a way of saying that it's very achievable. Like these numbers, while they are insanely high by traditional space standards, are achievable by humans because they have been achieved in other industries. Progress is measured by the timeline to establishing a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. That's how we're gauging our progress here at Starbase. So with each launch, especially in the early days of Starship, each launch is about learning more and more about what's needed to make life multiplanetary and to improve Starship to the point where it can be taking ultimately hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to Mars.
The surface itself adds another layer of complexity. Landing a vehicle as large as Starship near the lunar South Pole raises unresolved questions about dust behavior, terrain stability, and long-term damage to engines and nearby equipment. Power systems must endure long periods of shadow and extreme cold. Ice mining must evolve from experimental hardware into a reliable daily operation that supports life and fuel production. These challenges extend far beyond a single successful landing. What forms is a pivotal moment in space history. Hardware continues to rise at unprecedented speed. Launch pads grow more crowded. Timelines compress. Yet the most decisive elements, the lunar landing approach, orbital refueling at scale, and sustained surface logistics, remain only partially disclosed. The moon, in this context, becomes more than a destination. It becomes a proving ground for Mars. Every solution tested here determines whether building a civilization on another planet remains an ambition or becomes a reality. The next chapter dives deeper into those unanswered mechanics. How does Starship touch down without overwhelming the surface? How does fuel move across space like supply lines instead of experiments? And what happens when one system breaks in an environment with no margin for error? That is where the story truly begins. The moon base marks only the opening move. What comes next decides everything. Starship's landing method, orbital refueling, and surface logistics will determine whether this vision survives contact with reality. In the next chapter, we break down the hardest problems SpaceX must solve, and the one failure that could change the entire plan.